Welcome back to the arcade. Well, this is the video that I've been waiting for. I don't know about all of y'all, but we got both the boards finished, the new sockets on, the boards have been cleaned, they're ready for have the IC chips reinstalled, and we can put the board together and fire it up, cross the fingers, and hope it's going to work. But hopefully we'll know here shortly. So anyway, let's get down to business. I'm going to start with the CPU board here. And all we got to do is just repopulate the chips. But I'm going to take my time because you don't want to make a mistake and bend pins. Okay, so here's all the chips. I got new EPROMs burnt. I cleaned up the 4 proms here. Got a brand new AY 3-8910 sound chip. I got that from Pete at oh gosh, my mind's gone blank here. Yeah, Pete at Arcade Parts and Repair. If you need any cap kits, any chips, any sockets, he's got a whole bunch of parts for just about anything. I don't know if he's got everything, but he's got a whole lot of it all in one place. So go check him out. So we got that from him because the original chip here, and this is the original chip, was in the board. The legs are all rotted. One of them rotted off when I pulled it, and the others are real weak and they're rusty. Now, the heat sink is glued onto the old chip. I don't have a heat sink for this yet, but for testing the board, I think we can get by without the heat sink. I did stop by Lowe's and I got some channel aluminum, 4-foot piece, and I'm gonna have to cut off to the right length. It's a little bit wider and a little bit taller, but I figured, hey, if it's more mass to it, it should dissipate more heat. The only thing I have to do is do a little research, find out what type of glue I need to glue the heatsink onto the chip. I don't think it's going to matter too much in this case because I don't think this chip gets that hot, but we're going to find out if we get the board working or when we get the board working. We'll do something with that. So, all right, well, I'm not going to start with that chip. Let's go ahead and start with the EPROMs. Now, when I got started, I went ahead and took pictures of the board so I'd know where all these chips went. But at the time, I didn't realize that this board is labeled pretty good. Each one of the sockets are labeled on the board, and it's labeled the same as the number on the EPROM. So it'll be real easy to install. And look at these EPROMs before I put them in to make sure the legs look straight. Sometimes the legs will be spread apart and you'll have to put them on the table and sort of tweak them and straighten them up. But this looks okay. So, all right. We'll start with 7A. This is the notch end and this is the notch end here. So you got to make sure you put them in the right way. Oh yeah, I love how a new chip slides into a new socket. Okay, 7B. This is 7B. Okay. Next we got 7C. That's 7C. And these all are oriented in the same direction. Now we got 7E. All right, All of those are in. All right, now let's do the proms. Now these are the proms right here. These are also labeled, and they're also labeled on the board. So let's start with this one. This one is 5B. And 5B is right here. And it's oriented the same way. The notch goes on this side. So line it up. Put that in. Okay, here's 5A. There's 5A. Line up the notch. Okay. Now let's do 4A. Here's 4A. Line up the notch. And last 3A. Here's 3A. Line up the notch. Okay, those are in. Now, same thing with the Z80A, the CPU. The one that came out of here, the legs were rotted, rotten, rusty. So I got me a new one here, which I've had for a while. I generally try to keep 5 or 6 of these on hand because you never know when you're going to need them. All right, this one here don't have a notch, but it's got a dot. So the dot is the same as the notch, and the notch goes on this end. So we'll just line it up. Okay, that's in. Now, let's do the AY3-8910. This is a programmable, I think they call it a programmable sound something or another. I'm not sure. And I've read somewhere where it has something to do with reading the dip switch settings. So I'm wondering if this is Nintendo's version of the Atari Poke Chip. Anybody knows? What do you think? Is that a fair assessment of what this is? And this is used in quite a few other games as well as non-game stuff. So yeah, so it was a quite popular chip. Whether they still make it or not, I don't know. Okay, here's the notch. There's the notch there. All right. Okay. All the chips are in the CPU board. Now, what I generally like to do is just take it and eyeball them. Each one, make sure they're level, and make sure that none of the legs have folded up. Believe it or not, I don't know how it happens, but sometimes when you push a chip in the socket, the leg will just roll right up and fold underneath it. I've seen it, so it happens. And that can ruin your day because it's not easy to see. Because looking from the outer edge, it looks like it's in. But what it does, it goes down and curls back up and comes up under the belly of it. So, yeah. Okay, all these chips look good. So we're going to set this board aside. Now, here's the video board. All right. Let's go ahead and put these in. Also, I got new ROMs burnt, and one, I think this is a bipolar ROM, which is original. That cleaned up real good. So let's see, that goes up there. So we'll put that in last. Let's put the EPROMs in first. The EPROMs go in these 4 sockets. So these are also labeled. Okay, there's 1K. Let's get 1K. Here's the notch. The notch is here. Tell you what, let me turn it sideways here. I always like to put them in sideways, to me. Okay, that's in. Next is 1J. 1J. Here's the notch. Notch goes on this end. Line it up. Pop it in. Okay, next one is 1F. That's 1F. There's the notch. Notch goes on this side. Line it up. Pop it in. All right, now we got 1E. That's 1E. Here's the notch. Notch goes on this end. I know it sounds like a broken record, but when I say that to myself, it's kind of like a reminder that that's the way you're supposed to do it, and that's the way I'm putting them in. So, okay, got those in. Now we got 124 pin EEPROM here. This is 5N, and here's the notch. Notch goes on this end. All the legs look good. Line it up. Pop it in. Okay. Good to go. Now, we'll go ahead and put this bipolar ROM in here. And this is 7J. And it's written on the board right here, 7J. Here's the notch. It's got a big notch in that. Notch is on this side. Let's line it up. And it's in. Okay. Now, what we got left are these 4 28 pin chips. Here's the originals that came out the board right here. Now, there's probably nothing wrong with them. The legs look good on these, and didn't look like any problems. But, what these are RAMs. I guess it's the video RAM since it's on the video board. This is 1K by 9. That's what's written on the board here. It's a N82S09N, and there's 4 of them. So I could put these in and try it, but I want to try to give this board the best chance it can get. So it's possible that, you know, these could be bad. Since we got all new ROMs, the only thing we reused so far are the PROMs. I went ahead and I got 4 brand new ones. And I got these from GPE, which is Great Plains Electronics. So this came from Ed. So if you need any chips, any sockets, he's got connectors, Molex connectors, and all kinds of connectors. He's also got pinball board kits, rebuild kits. So go check them out if you need some parts. And all these places that I'm mentioning, I'm not sponsored by any of them. I'm just a customer. A happy, satisfied customer. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these in. And, okay, here's the notch. All 4 of these are the same. So let's line them up. Okay, 1 down. Here's the notch. Notch goes on this end. Line them up. Pop it in. 2 more to go. Notch on this end. In case you're wondering, I'd already gone over these chips and already straightened the legs. Well, I thought I had. This one don't look all that straight. You just put it on the edge of the table and give it a little twist. And they'll line right up. Okay. Notch right here, notch here. Line it up. Okay. That's going to do it. All the chips are in the video board. All right. Let me eyeball them and make sure they all look like they're in. Yeah, these are sitting up high in the sockets, but they're in all the way. Okay, I believe we're good. All the chips look good. All right, now what we got to do is, I got to thinking about this, and I was thinking about laying these boards out, putting the CPU board here. Now, let me back up the camera here. All right, I was thinking about putting them together, and you can put the ribbon cables between them and just put it together like this. In case I have a problem, I can, work on them better. And then I got thinking, I said, wait a minute, this ain't gonna work. Got a rainbow cable here, which is a power cable, which plugs in up here, and it plugs into the video board here. And that powers the video board. Well, when you put them in the stack, both of these are opposite each other, and hence the small cable. Well, like this, you can't do it. I would have to make a new cable and a longer cable and extend it, which I think you could do. But I just figured, well, no need to go to all that trouble. If I have to, if we get down to where we're going to have to do some real hard board diagnostics, then I might look into making a new cable and setting it out like this. But for right now, I'm just going to put it back together into its normal configuration, and we can always flip the board over if I suspect something on one board or the other. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and put the standoffs back in. And these just pop right in. They got little barbs on them that when you stick them through the hole, and then it's got this little bend in them, so when you push them in, it kind of puts tension on them, and that little barb holds them. And that's what kind of holds them in place. So if these are broken on your board and you need more, I believe, pretty sure you can buy these at Mike's Arcade. I'm pretty sure I've seen them on his website. There are different sizes, so you'd have to measure them to find out which spacing your board needs, because I think they make a bunch of them, but for Nintendo boards, I think you can get a couple different types. At least that's what he sells on his website, if memory serves me right. Okay. We got those in. So now all we got to do is set the CPU board on top of it. And of course, you got to set the ribbon cables so that they'll connect together. Line them up and just pop them down on here. Okay. Now, I didn't buy new ribbon cables. I do remember there was a little bit of corrosion on the pins when I took these out, and these were real hard to pull off. But we cleaned the boards up real good, and these pins are shiny as a new penny. I don't know if they're gold plated or if they're brass or whatever. But there's no way you can really see in these. So what I've done is I got the old can of deoxit out, and I've already sprayed deoxit in these plugs, and I did plug them in and out a couple times. So hopefully by plugging them in and out, it'll help clean the pins off if there are any corrosion up in it. So I'm just going to go for it and put them on and see what happens. They sure go on a lot easier than they come off, that's for sure. And when you push them in, the little clips right here lock them in place. So they seem to be working okay. All right. Okay, they're all locked in. All right, the board is all complete and ready. So let me go ahead and set this up, and we'll plug it into the jammer harness and the jammer adapter, and we'll throw some juice to it and see what happens. Okay, well, this is the moment of truth. Is it going to work, or are we still going to have a Houston, we have a problem? All right, everything is hooked up. It's now or never. I've heard that somewhere before. Elvis, okay. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Blast off. Well, I hear a whine out of the speaker. Wah, wah, wah. I don't see a thing on the board there. All right, let me cut it off and try it one more time. Well, it looked like it was trying to do something. Got some color out of it a little bit there for a second. I know what it is. Dun, dun, dun. Haven't hooked the rainbow cable up. Oh, right. Well, that might do it. Certainly ain't going to work without it, because without it, there's no power to the video board. From what I understand, that's how the video board gets its power. Okay. Well, will we get a reprieve from the governor? Okay. Have I forgot anything this time? Possible, but let's give it a shot anyway. Still nothing. Well, that made a big help. All right. Well, looks like we're still getting the same thing. Okay. Well, what do you do when the board doesn't work? First thing you do is check voltage. So let me get in here, figure out where the test points are for the voltage, and let's first check the 5 volts. Okay, I got the game fired back up. And I got my voltmeter here. I've tied on to the negative leg of this electrolytic capacitor right here, which is right here on the ground rail. And first let me see, I know for sure the jammer adapter right here, the red wires coming in here, these thick red wires, that's the 5 volts coming from my power supply. So let me go ahead and check it here first. Only getting 4.57 volts. That could be a problem. All right, the big yellow wire right here should be 12 volt. I think this board uses 12 volt. The 12 volt, I'm getting 11.88. That don't seem too bad. But that 5 volt, that's pretty bad. All right. Let me put it on the Z80 here. I need to get a data sheet on the Z80. It's been a while since I've checked any. I believe, is it pin 40 is plus 5 volts? No, can't be. It's a pin 1. I don't remember. Need to pick up another point on here. Maybe it's pin 20. I'm getting 4.53 volts. That's the same thing I'm getting from the jammer connector. So that's not enough to run the board, I'm pretty sure. So that may be the problem. So that means nothing wrong with the power supply. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can pick it up. I'm now seeing characters on the monitor, but they're very faint. It's almost like a shadow mask, but I see a heart. It looks like a horseshoe up there, and a whole line of some characters and another heart over there. So, well, you can't see it. Let me cut this light off and see if you can see it on the monitor here. I don't know if you can or not. Might not pick it up. Yeah, it's not picking it up very good, but I can make it out pretty good right here. That's definitely a heart. That looks like a harp. There's another heart over here. And this looks like the same symbol here. It kind of looks like an upside down omega. And there's a whole line of them down through here. So let me cut it off and cut it back on. Yeah, for a second, you could see some type of characters on the screen. Okay. All right. Well, obviously there's some type of a short. Something is pulling the voltage down. So we can do this by the process of elimination. If the voltage comes in on the jammer connector, and then you got this adapter, and then it comes in on the edge connector. So all the voltage to the board comes in on the edge connector. Then it's distributed through the board. Now, the ribbon cables down here, I haven't looked at the schematics. I don't know. Is there any voltage that goes through these? I would think these are all data lines. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't think there's any voltage here because that's what the ribbon cable is for. So, if I unplug the ribbon cable, fire it back up, check the voltage again, if the voltage is the same, I could say I can eliminate the video board as the problem. And if I disconnect these cables here, I don't think it would hurt anything if I disconnected everything from the CPU board and just powered it up. I could at least see if the voltage comes back up. If it doesn't, then that means something on the CPU board is the problem. So trying to narrow this down by just trying to use a little bit of common sense and the process of elimination. So let's go ahead and disconnect the ribbon cable. All right, now we have no power going to the video board. Let's power it back up. And it doesn't appear to be any major difference. Let's see. No, there's nothing on the screen now, so with no power to the video board, we shouldn't be getting anything back out, I wouldn't think. All right. First, let me check it at the jammer adapter. Aha! We're getting 4.98 volts now. All right, let me check it on this chip here. 4.87 on the CPU. Getting 4.96. That should be enough. Well, I have no way of knowing if the code is running. All right, well, I would think that maybe the problem is on the video board, since the voltage has gone back up. Okay, let's cut it back off. Plug the ribbon cable back in, or the rainbow cable, I mean. Let's go ahead and flip the board over. All right, now I'm going to power it back up. And if we got something shorting on here, maybe we can feel a chip and feel what might be heating up. All right, well, we got something on the monitor again, but it's almost the same. There's no hearts this time, but it does have that same line, except for being over on the right-hand side of the screen. It's kind of more down the middle now. Okay. Let me start feeling these chips. If I had one of them infrared cameras, that would be the cat's meow, wouldn't it? I hear they're rather expensive, though. But it may not be nothing really heating up that bad. I don't see nothing out the ordinary. All right. Let me go ahead and clip on the ground here. Let me see what I got on this capacitor. 4.50, 4.5. $4.49 on the ROM here. $4.49 on this chip, which I think is another. I believe these are RAMs. Well, with the voltage being that low, it has a test mode, but I have no way of putting it in test because I don't have a service switch on my JAMA cabinet here. I could wire one into the adapter here, but if you're only getting 4.5 volts on the board, that may not be enough to run the self-test. Probably not. And if you disconnect the video board, you're not going to have any video, so you're not going to be able to see the test anyway, even if it would run without the video board. Well, only thing to do might be to get out the logic probe and start probing around, unless there's a way I can try to find if it's enough of a short, but it's only knocking it down 0.5 volt or so. So I don't know. I'm going to have to do a little research and think about this one. I'll bring you back if I figure something out. All right, well, it's another day. Nothing really new to report on, but I did get an order in the mail today. And this is something that I thought I had ordered, but turns out I didn't order when I ordered the other stuff. So this is another order from Peter from Arcade Parts and Repair. And if you remember, I mentioned that I somehow had neglected to order the Nintendo Popeye game PC board cap kit. So I went ahead and ordered it. Also ordered another kit for a future project, which I'm not going to reveal right now. So anyway, I figured, pretty sure this isn't going to help anything, but it's not going to hurt. So I wanted to put a new cap kit on the board anyway, just because of the corrosion that this board had. So it's not too many capacitors to change. Nowhere near as bad as some monitor cap kits. And provides a little label where you can put on the board and put who installed the kit and the date it was installed. So that's a nice little touch. And let's go ahead and empty the caps out here. And I'm going to start with the video board here because there's only one cap on it. Now, since I've pretty much determined that the 5-volt power loss or the power drain is coming from the video board here, as a possibility that maybe this cap is bad, it's partially shorted or whatever, but I kind of doubt it. Anyway, we'll pull it off and we'll check it with my ESR meter here. So just to satisfy our curiosity, if nothing else. Okay, I've already checked. The board is labeled positive and negative, so it shouldn't be no problem getting it back right. Okay, the cap kit is done. I found one bad cap that was on the CPU board, and I wish I had to continue testing them as I took them out, but I just went ahead and took them all out, and then I tested them afterwards. But this one right here, it says open circuit or low capacitance. So this one is bad. And this is a 3.3 microfarad at 50 volts. And like I say, I'm not sure, but there's only two of them on the board. It's either C7, which I believe is over here in the audio circuit, or let's see. Whichever one this one is over here. C18. I'm not sure what that one is. I don't know what part of the circuit that is. Eventually I'm going to have to look up the schematics and start dissecting the board here. But anyway, the caps are now not a problem. I don't know if that was, I'm sure that's probably not a problem. It wasn't a short, and it was on the CPU board anyway. So okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the boards aside for now. Now what I'm going to do is I went ahead and cranked the voltage up on my power supply in my JAMA cabinet that's supplying the board. And with both the video and CPU board connected, as you know, I was getting 4.5 volts. With the video card not connected and just the CPU board, I was still kind of low. I think it was 4.9 something maybe. I don't remember exactly, or it was 4.8. So anyway, I decided to crank it up. I put the board together, and I went ahead and hooked the voltmeter up to it and got into the cabinet, turned it up to where now I'm up to 4.85 with both boards hooked together. That's still low, but I still got that short on that board, so I would rather have it a little low than too high, and then something let loose on the board and then put more voltage to it than I want. So I left it at 4.85, so that should be enough voltage maybe to get it working. I don't know, but since I don't have a service button, I'm going to go ahead and hardwire a service button on the adapter. So I'm going to do that next. That way when I hook it back up to power, I'll be able to try to put it into test mode, and hopefully with that voltage raised up to 485, maybe it'll go into test mode. I don't know, but that's the plans. And if that don't work, then we'll have to go back to the schematics and the logic probe.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm going to finish cause I keep living. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I want a gazookas which takes all polluters. What takes on the up and square. Why tips and I bottom and always outrust them, but none of them get nowhere.